welcome back to our Care Guide series. I hope you remember we talked about people with schizophrenia typically experiencing seeing or hearing unreal beings, believing in unreal things, and an overall decline in their cognitive capabilities. Let's understand how these experiences are perceived by the medical professionals and what could we as informal caregivers learn from those medical definitions of symptoms. But before we begin, a short disclaimer. The goal of these videos on symptoms is to help you get clarity on the behaviors and actions of your loved one with schizophrenia. You might find medical terms like delusion of reference or paranoid delusion, alogia, anhedonia, etc. And I know you're not here to learn these terms and become professionals, but we'll talk about them because all these terms, however technical they might sound, ultimately just represents symptoms that you, as an informal caregiver, should know about so that you have a clear explanation for your day to day life challenges. By learning about these symptoms, you'd be able to understand that your loved one is saying certain things or behaving in a particular manner because of their disorder. These are just symptoms on which they have no control. They don't mean to cause you harm or intentionally behave in these ways. It's their disorder that makes them do or say or experience these things. Learning them helps us become more aware of the condition that they are struggling with, but it doesn't make us doctors. So, if you're not a mental health professional yourself, then never assume that just by learning about symptoms over the series, you're qualified enough to diagnose or undiagnose a person. From a medical point of view, there is so much that cannot be covered in this series. In fact, I would say in any series or program that is not a medical degree program, which is why we need a team of mental health professionals, such as psychiatrists and psychologists, to make the proper diagnosis and treatment plan for our loved ones with schizophrenia. Keep that in mind as we move forward and dive deeper. In the medical guides, most of the symptoms are largely divided into two types: positive symptoms and negative symptoms. Along with these, there's also some level of cognitive impairment that is found in most people with schizophrenia. So, in essence, there is a total of three buckets. Now, talking of positive symptoms, these are the key characteristic symptoms of schizophrenia. Anyone who is diagnosed with it would often have at least some form of these symptoms. The first one here is hallucination, which means sensing unreal things or beings. This includes any of the five types of senses that we have, like touch, taste, smell, sight, or hearing. Hallucination is sensing unreal things of any of these kinds without the presence of a stimulus or object in reality. So, if you're getting a particular smell but there is no real smell around you, then most probably you're hallucinating. People with schizophrenia most commonly experience auditory hallucinations, hearing unreal things. For instance, they may hear voices instructing them to carry out certain activities or giving them a running commentary on everything they do on a day to day basis. The second common type of hallucination is sight based, seeing unreal things, which would include seeing visions of aliens or ghosts or people that no one else can see. They see these beings or things, as the case may be, and in some cases even interact with them. Often, when you notice that your loved one is self talking, it could be because they might be interacting with their hearing or vision based hallucinations. Although auditory and vision based hallucinations are more common, it's not impossible to experience hallucinations of other senses as well. The next set of positive symptoms are the strong beliefs that are not found on reality, known as delusions. These delusions or beliefs are so fixed and rigid that they are not shaken up in presence of contrary evidences. So no amount of logical explanation or questioning can change their minds about these beliefs. Here are some examples with classification. Paranoid delusion. Having some kind of unreasonable phantom ideas, such as a belief that someone or a family member is trying to kill me, or the police is following me, or everything I talk on phones is being tapped, it's being recorded somewhere. Next, there is the delusion of reference. The person having this may think that people around are talking about them, even if those people are total strangers. Then there's the delusion of being controlled. This means feeling like someone is controlling your mind by being able to affect how you think. A person having this delusion could think that others can hear whatever you're thinking, or that others are placing thoughts inside your brain. So you might feel that your thoughts are not your own. Now, accordingly, it's called thought withdrawal for beliefs about pulling thoughts from your mind or hearing whatever you're thinking. Now, this is also similar to something called thought broadcasting, wherein people might believe that everything that they are thinking is being written on some invisible screen and everyone can see it or read it, or it's being broadcasted out loud so everyone can hear. And there is thought insertion for beliefs about putting thoughts in your brain. Finally, there's the common delusion of grandiosity, thinking that you hold some sort of supernatural power, that you're superior to others and can do anything in the world. It could also include believing that you are the god, or you've achieved moksha, nirvana, or zen, however you might call that. Now, we have to understand that certain things do have sort of cultural aspects. For example, in some communities, there's a strong focus on meditation and spirituality, all together with guided learning about achieving moksha. Within the cultural context, this in itself would not be easily considered a delusion, but if it's affecting the person's life negatively, for example, impairing their common logical thinking capacity, then it could be because of developing grandiosity delusion. Or when there is no such context at all and the person is suddenly exhibiting grandiosity, then that would also imply a delusion. Psychiatrists do take due precautions to learn about the person's cultural and familial background before arriving at the conclusion that the person is having this delusion. Now, apart from hallucinations and delusions, there is one more category called disorganization. This could be further subdivided into two types: disorganized thinking or speaking, and disorganized motor behavior. Disorganized thinking or speaking means difficulty in clear thinking and speaking in a way that doesn't make sense. Some individuals speak in a strange tone or with unfamiliar words that are not easy to comprehend. It could even sound like they are speaking the language of aliens. This is called neologism. And in some cases, they lose track of conversation. So they start talking about something and then they completely forget about it without giving it a closure. This is called tangentiality. And finally, there is derailment, which is about shifting from one idea to another. So they start talking about one thing, and in their mind, it's all related to the next thing that they start talking about. But for a listener, it makes no sense. The listener just wonders, what does this person want to say? Because whatever they're saying now just doesn't connect at all with whatever they were saying a few seconds ago. Now, disorganized motor behavior, or in other words, grossly disorganized or abnormal motor behavior, manifests itself in a variety of ways, ranging from childlike silliness to unpredictable behaviors. For example, someone may burst into laughter when you tell them sad news. This is inappropriate affect. It can be by body posture or by verbal responses. Within this type, maintaining a rigid, inappropriate, or bizarre posture is called negativism, and a complete lack of verbal or motor responses is called mutism or stupor. Then, disorganized motor behavior could also include purposelessness and excessive motor activity without any obvious cause, like roaming around without any reason, etc. This is called catatonic excitement. A typical example would be your loved one is just lost for a few days. They probably went out of the home for work or to take a walk or maybe grocery shopping, and they were just lost. After some couple of days, when they were found, you ask them why they went there and what were they doing, and they might not even remember. And lastly, there is stereotypical repeated movements. For example, staring for a long time, or grimacing, or rocking their head and body part constantly back and forth. Now, with that, we have covered some of the major positive symptoms, but I don't want you to experience information overload. So let's put a break on this episode. We'll continue about the rest of the symptoms in the coming episodes. Until then, take care. Bye bye.